And you mentioned the business side of medicine a couple of times. You mentioned the science, of course, of getting ideas from basic lab and then taking it to clinical practice, but then implementing these and running a business around this discovery is also something that's fascinating. And a lot of people may be interested in that as a career. And I know you have a lot of different experiences in the business side of medicine, even as a medical student right now. Can you share some of those experiences, please?
Yeah, of course. So my first involvement with business was in the first year of medical school. This is even a funny story because I got into medical school in 2020 when literally the pandemic hit. And so we had 2 weeks of in-person classes, and then everything closed down. And then I was going through medical school online, remotely for a few months, and I just immersed myself in the internet and different possibilities and everything. And I found this startup that's called HackMed. They're not a startup anymore, but they changed the trajectory of the healthcare field in Brazil, specifically for students. And I'm going to tell you guys what they did a little bit. So basically, HackMed was a startup that was working with, basically their mission was to invest in people, not only students, but people in the healthcare field that didn't know anything about business or entrepreneurship. Their mission was to educate those people in how to bring companies, how to bring ideas or gaps that you notice at the hospitals or in academia and everything, how you can translate those things into startups.
Yeah.
Us, like when we are working as doctors or as students in our interaction with patients, we always see gaps in the market, right? So for instance, medical adherence. This is such an important issue. So many patients have difficulties in adhering to medications and everything. So that is a gap that we have in the clinic. We have so many startups that just came into existence out of that gap. So basically the idea of HackMed was to teach people how to translate those gaps into actual solutions. And then I was going through that course, and they had a specific course to teach that to students and people that were interested. It was a practical course, so we were not just listening to classes or learning from people. We were actively building a company. We didn't know if that company was going to convert into an actual business, but we were doing that. And so I gathered a team. There was a specific problem in the healthcare field in Brazil, which was burning in my heart. I was super, that was something that was difficult for me to see, honestly. It was painful to see, which is the lines, right? In the public healthcare system in Brazil, in SUS. So we know that so many people, specifically for elective procedures, they wait. So some people,
Yeah,
exactly.
I remember cholecystectomies where I trained in Goiânia in Brazil. Like you would have to wait forever to get an elective cholecystectomy.
Exactly. So many people even die waiting.
Wow.
So we saw that as a gap. And then we gathered a team. I was leading that team. And we came up with a software that would optimize contract management in the public healthcare hospitals in Brazil, specifically the Santas Casas, which is a system in Brazil. Because we got to know that contract management once was something that was a bottleneck in the line formation. And so what we did was come up with the project or the projection of that software, and we would start selling that software for the hospitals. And so when I saw the kind of impact that business would have in our careers, in the life of patients and people overall in the healthcare field, I was absolutely fascinated. And I knew that that was something that I had to do for life. And so that was my first experience. The company didn't come. We didn't actually start a business. I had to come, it was the transition between finishing medical school and coming to the U.S. I was also taking step 1, which is one of the tests to get into residency in the U.S. and everything. It was, so many things were on my plate, and I had to make a decision according to the priorities at that moment. but it was an experience that changed my life, and I knew that I had to. I knew that I had that in my veins. You know, the business, the desire to be in business.